Hawkins from StaceyHawkins.com, and I am so excited that you guys are joining us here this evening, and I'm so glad that we are here live. I love coming at you live for these video streams simply because it gives us an opportunity to interact. So it's been, I think, one or two episodes now that we haven't been able to interact live, and I know that there have been a lot of questions because I've gotten them from you, either in the message group here or you've emailed me with questions, and I am so happy to answer them during our time together this evening. So, as always, I have my ever-reliable, very trusty assistant, Jackie, behind the camera. And she is watching for the feed and questions and comments, etc., etc. So tonight it's all about Q&A, and we're going to have a little bit of extra time simply because this recipe I'm making tonight is so quick and so easy. Asian style food. Who doesn't love it, right? Well, we're waiting a little bit for other people to join us. Here is our first part of the interaction night tonight. Ready? I want you to tell me what your favorite type of Chinese food is. So when you go out to the restaurant, what do you usually get, right? For me, it's always been, whether I was on program or not, I always love steamed chicken, mixed vegetables, and I go on the wild side. Sometimes it's brown sauce, sometimes it's garlic sauce, but I always ask them to throw some cashew nuts on because I love that combination, first of all, of the color and the flavor, but the nuts give it that little bit of texture as well. So it's a really great combination. Back in the day when I ate rice, I'd always get it with brown rice, but now I'm serving everything over cauliflower rice, which is really terrific. And I try to stay away from, the noodles and all that thing. Every now and then I'll splurge on an egg roll, because who doesn't love a good egg roll? But I'm often finding now that I'm cutting it in half, I'm taking a bite or two of the egg roll, and I'm just scooping out what's on the inside. So, Jackie, what kind of comments are we getting? What are people loving out there? Go ahead and shout it out.
There is none.
Nobody's saying anything? What? Everybody
I'll
must
tell you
be
what I
asleep. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us. What do you eat when we usually go out?
Lo mein.
Chicken lo mein. That is definitely one of her favorites. So there we go. We like the thumbs and we like the hearts for chicken lo mein for sure. So, all right. So what we're gonna make tonight is an Asian style meal in the wok. And I gotta tell you, I love wok cooking because it is so fast and it is so easy. And because it is so fast and easy, I'm gonna kind of talk at you while I'm cooking. But before we get into it, let me go over the recipe with you. So we're going to do a real simple style Asian beef and broccoli this evening. Now, a lot of times you get a lot of the flavor from the fat, from the salt, from all the other additives that wind up going into Chinese food, but we are going to do it a little differently tonight, and I'm going to show you a trick that requires a fraction of the fat and is going to give you a lot of flavor. And we're going to keep it simple, as I said, just with the beef and the broccoli, but there's a bunch of different ways that you can change it up, all right? So our basic recipe is this. I took this morning 1 teaspoon, that's it, right? Just 1 teaspoon of my Valencia orange oil because it's really potent and it's really yummy, and it's going to give you some great orange flavor. And then I took 2 tablespoons of my wok-on seasoning. That's right, wok-on doesn't just have to be used in the wok though, I promise you. And then last but not least, I did 1/2 of a cup of rice wine vinegar. Now here's the thing though, when you go to buy rice wine vinegar, you can buy it seasoned or unseasoned. And you want the unseasoned variety because the seasoned stuff only has in it, ready for this? The worst ingredient in the world? Sugar. It's sugar. So, and we do not want sugar on program. And truthfully, like a lot of times when you go out for sushi, and this is a good thing to know, a lot of times when you go out for sushi, the glycemic index of rice will really be much higher when they use seasoned vinegar in the sushi rice, and a lot of times they'll do that to make it sticky. That sugar helps to make it sticky. So there are some places that use it and some places that don't. So especially after you transition, if sushi is one of those things that you love, do yourself a favor and ask, Do they or don't they use seasoned rice or even sugar? Sometimes they'll put sugar water in the rice to make it super sticky. So watch out for that. And last but not least, I've got 1.25 pounds of lean meat. In this case, I did a London broil that I sliced on a diagonal. And I took those ingredients, I put them in the bag, and I'm sorry, I didn't even think this morning when I threw this in here that I used a blue bag. So this doesn't look super very appetizing, but I'll show you when we get close there how all of those seasonings rehydrate and get nice and chunky and plump, and this is going to taste so, so good. And again, there's hardly any fat in here whatsoever. So we're going to add to that 2 cups of broccoli florets, and that's it. Really, really simple. Now I told you can change this up 1,000 ways, and you can, and I'll share that with you as we get cooking. Before I start cooking, though, oops, wait a minute. I got a comment?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Ruth would like to know what's a good wok brand because she doesn't have one right now.
Great question. In fact, that is a perfect segue because I was just going to talk about woks. And a wok is a really great way to cook, especially if you have a gas stove like mine. But if you don't have a gas stove and you have an electric stove, a lot of the woks will come with what's called a wok ring. And what that is, it's a little lip that you set this in, kind of like taking just a ring and turning it upside down, and it sits in here to keep it directly off the heat. And that's because usually with an electric coil, they're hotter in the center and not as hot around the outside, and you wind up with hot spots on here. When you light the flame on a gas grill, you've already got that nice ring, and it's just a ring around the outside, and it's usually going to hit about here, so it helps heat up the sides of the wok as well, and that's what you want, and that's why you want to use that wok ring. As far as brands go, I have to be honest with you. There's lots of different kinds out there. I don't have any brand that I am in particularly in love with. This one, I will be honest with you, I got this at IKEA of all places probably about 15 years ago. And they will last a good long time. I don't think this was even maybe $15 at that time. It was less than $20 for sure. You can see it's definitely well loved, it's well seasoned, and they will last a really long time simply if you take care of them the right way. The one thing about woks is you want to make sure you don't buy one that has a Teflon coating on it. Okay, so no Teflon, most of them don't have. You want a nice metal wok. And unlike your frying pans, I'm going to bring this up here. You see how thin this is? Do I have it in the frame, Jackie?
It's in the frame, but
okay.
Tilt it a little bit more like this way.
There you go. So you see how thin that is. I mean, this is probably, an 1/8 of an inch, if not even less than of steel. And it's the same thickness all the way around. And you want that because you want the whole thing to heat up really fast, and you want to be able to get it really hot. Unlike our conventional frying pans where we just want the bottom to heat evenly, we want a thicker core on the bottom and it a little thinner on the sides. But a wok is a little bit different. Now, because most of these are iron or steel, you need to make sure that you take care of them properly, which means they don't get washed. I know, don't let that gross you out, but they don't get washed. What you do is when you're done with your meal, you actually are going to put this back on the stove with a little bit of water in it, turn it on so it boils, and then you're going to take a steel wool pad, not a Brillo with the soap on it, but just a steel wool pad, and wash it out, and then you can put it in the sink and rinse it as well. You don't want to put soap on here. And the reason is because you need to treat this just like you would treat a cast iron pan. And those Good Lodge skillets, the well-seasoned ones, are the best. Believe it or not, I'm going to give you another little tip here. If you have one of those, like maybe from your mom or your grandmother or a relative that you've inherited, or if you ever see one at a garage sale and it's well seasoned, it may look a little gross and even a little dusty because of the coating of oil that's on there, grab them because they are worth a fortune on eBay. And if you're not going to use it yourself, I can promise you can make a bunch of extra bucks depending on the size and the brand. So they are really coveted and they are really great pans, but they need to be taken care of. So don't wash them. And then once you're done kind of rinsing it out with your steel wool, and you can wash the back with some soap if you want to, if you need to, but then you want to put a few drops of oil in there, like olive oil or your coconut oil or what have you, and just rub it on the inside and season it, kind of like I have done here with this one. And that's going to prevent it from rusting. And that's really all you need. Like I said, my pan, I told you, it's a good 15 years old. It's not gross, it's not moldy, and I'm still here. So that's the right way to season them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this going, and I want to put this on high heat to be able to get it heated up quickly and easily. And then I'm going to add to that what did I say? 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of the Valencia orange oil to just finish the beef in. Now what you want to do is you're going to see me drizzle the oil here. I'm going to drizzle it around the pan so that everything goes down really, coats the side of the pan as well. And the one spot I didn't hit, I'm going to, just kind of help it along a little bit. While this is heating up, I want to tell you about the beef that I used. As I said, I used a London broil. And with this London broil, it's nice and lean. It doesn't have a lot of fat to it. And it's on the thicker side. It's about 1.5 inches size in thickness. And I took half the steak to give me 1.25 pounds. But this can be really difficult to cut really thin because, it's meat. So it's got a little flexibility and a little movability to it. And when it comes to walking, you want to make sure that the thinner, the better, right? So the key to that is put your steak in the freezer for about 1 hour. That's all, 1 hour. Could even be 1/2 hour depending on how thick it is. And it'll just be stiff enough that it will cut with a really sharp knife and you can get it very thin. Throw everything in the bag as I've done here and away you go. So I'm putting my beef in. Jack, you can come a little closer if you want to, for sure. In fact, it would be great for everybody to see. But because I am cooking over high heat here, I do have to turn the fans on. So it may get a little noisy and I'll talk a little bit louder. So as you can see, I'm going to spread my meat around here so that it is evenly distributed along the sides of the pan. And we're just going to let that cook for 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're going to add the broccoli. Now, you can pull back for just a second there, or if you want to just tip it up, that may work. There we go. Am I too close, or are we okay? I'm kind of under the smoky light, though. I'll just move a little to the side. Okay. Let's talk about the vegetables. I'm keeping it really simple tonight and just using broccoli, but the world is your oyster when it comes to vegetables. You can do the baby carrots, which are lower in carbohydrates as well, but watch and read the can. Make sure you count accordingly. You can use your broccoli. You could use any of the yellow squash, green squash. You can put water chestnuts in here. Again, talk about great texture and flavor. You could put your peppers in here, anything that you'd like. Just be conscientious, though, when you're mixing those vegetables together about the quantity that you're using. So I've designed the recipe, which I will post up above. I've got a worksheet for you this week. I did it such that I'm tongue-tied here. I created the recipe such that 1/4 of the recipe is actually only 1 lean, 1 green, and 1 healthy fat for you. So if you change your vegetables around a little bit, just be mindful of that. All right, Jack, you want to come back down to the pan here?
Yep.
And now, real simple, through the magic, I'm adding the broccoli. Now the really nice thing about this is that the moisture that's coming out of the broccoli and out of the beef and the little bit of liquid that we have had from the marinade, if you will, it's really going to help to cook up this broccoli really quickly and easily. But now the other thing that I said too was that I made sure that everything was the same size. And one of the things that you've heard me say over and over and over again when it comes to stove top cooking, if it looks the same, it cooks the same. So you want to make sure that everything is about the same size when it comes to your vegetables. It will allow you to have even cooking, and then that way you don't have if you were mixing your vegetables, overcooked or really soft peppers and undercooked broccoli, because you want it what's called crisp tender, but you don't want things that are really, really, really on the chunky side. So as I said, while this is cooking, the worksheet that I have for you tonight, it will be up above in the files section, and all you've got to do is click on that and you can download the worksheet. Over and over again, I tell you, please feel free. If you're a health coach or you want to share this recipe with friends, you have my absolute blessing to do so. All right, let's give this a quick stir, and then I will come back and talk at you really quickly here.
You have a comment.
Oh, all right. Question?
Ruth again, would like to know, when do you use a top to a wok?
A top to a wok. Okay, so that's a great question, Ruth. If you had bigger pieces of broccoli in here, or if you had a scenario where you wanted to try to steam things and cook them a little faster, very much like you would in a pot that you'd use on a stove, then you would put the lid on to help steam with that. So in most of the recipes I use, you don't need a lid, because I really encourage you to do the prep work ahead of time to get everything the same size so that you don't have to worry about those issues. However, if you do, if you do find yourself cooking and maybe your meat looks like it's done but your broccoli's not quite done, feel free to put that lid on for a minute and let everything steam and cook up in there really quickly. So thank you, that's a great question. Let's see, we talked about the meats. And we talked about the cauliflower rice, and we went over the recipe, and with that, believe it or not, dinner is done. Jack, I'd like you to oh, you got it down already? 2 steps ahead of me, that's my girl. So a couple things I want to show you here. First of all, look at how beautiful green this broccoli is. Second of all, you see the liquid that we have here? It's made a really nice sauce, so if you're going to serve that over cauliflower rice, it's going to flavor the rice for you as well. And last but not least, look at all the flavor in these chunks of garlic. I'm going to turn this off. Garlic and ginger and red pepper. I promise you that those put together with a combination of the orange oil are going to give you an amazing recipe that is lean, green, yummy, and that everyone is going to love. So how long did that take us? Just a very few minutes. So I'm Stacey Hawkins. Thank you so much for joining me for this lean and green meal here this evening. Please feel free to post your comments below. Follow me on Facebook for more recipes each week, and by all means, if you don't already, feel free to get my newsletter, which you can get at staceyhawkins.com. Every week I send out an e-zine that's got recipes, ideas, and everything to help you on your lean and green lifestyle, whether you are on 5-in-1, 3-in-1, transitioning. I'm here to help you in the long run. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.